In this video, we will be discussing about one more interesting single candlestick pattern, which is paper umbrella. It actually helps us in setting up directional trades. A paper umbrella has a small real body at the top of the candle, okay, and it has a lengthy lower shadow. So this is how it looks like. Now let us try to understand some of the important points regarding paper umbrella. So as we have discussed, it should have a small real body at the upper end with a long lower shadow. So, and yes, color doesn't matter if shadow to real body satisfies. Now let us try to understand this point more in detail, friends. Now, shadow to real body ratio. Okay. So whenever we see a candle which has a small real body and the length of the lower shadow, at least it should be twice to the length of real body, then we say it as a paper umbrella. So here color doesn't matter since it is having a small real body, no matter it is a bearish or bullish, but it doesn't really show much influence. Now the interpretation of paper umbrella changes based on where actually it appears on the chart. So it consists of two trend reversal patterns mainly. One is hammer and hanging man. We'll be discussing in detail about these candlesticks. Alright, now let us try to analyze in detail about hammer. So as we have said, color doesn't really matter as long as if shadow to real body ratio satisfies. So friends, when we say a candle has a hammer, if the paper umbrella appears at the bottom end of a downward rally, it is called hammer. Okay. Now let us try to understand some of the important points regarding hammer. Okay. So friends, prior trend should be downtrend. So if we look at this, the previous trend before the hammer forms, it is a downward trend, friends. Okay. Now let us try to understand first when we say a trend is a downtrend. So during downtrend, everyday market opens lower compared to previous day's close and again closes with lower to form a new low. Now market expected to trade slower and makes a new low in the next trading session as well, right? But however, at this low point, there is some buying interest which makes the market to move towards upper side, which makes to close at a high point of the day. Okay. So what actually happened previously? Every candle closes with a new low. That is where we say it as a downtrend, right? Now this hammer actually closed at a high point of the day. Okay. And from there, it indicates that there is going to be a trend reversal. Now let us try to understand in detail about this hammer formation, how we can interpret that there is going to be a trend reversal at this price point. Okay. So friends, in downward trend, what actually happens is bears has absolute control over the market, and in every trading session, there is a more dominance of bears and there is a very less dominance of buyers, right? So in that case, in every trading session, there is going to be the market used to close with a new low and again compared to the previous close, right? So what actually happens at this price point? Okay. Now if we try to analyze, as expected, the market opens lower compared to the previous close and the market continued towards the downward rally. But at this price point, there is some amount of buying interest which actually makes buyers to enter at this price point. Now at this price point, buyers taken the market to higher levels. Okay. At this attractive price point, bulls came with the dominance and they have taken the market to higher levels, and which makes it finally to close at a high point of the day. Okay. And from there, it gives a strong signal that compared to the previous day's trading sessions where sellers were in dominant, and at this price point buyers came into the picture and they have taken a control over the stock. Now one can look whenever we see a hammer formation on the chart, provided if the previous trend is a downtrend, absolutely one can look for a buying opportunities at this level. Okay. And again, there is no fixed target, friends. One can have target based upon your own risk appetite. So as we have discussed, at this price point, it is clearly showing that there is some buying interest. Hammer formation suggests definitely a long trade. One can look for a long position. Let's suppose if the hammer formation gives a wrong signal. Okay. So let's suppose if I'm taking my position here at this price point during the market close, at the high of the candle. Okay. Now considering that the market moves higher levels in the next trading sessions, if I have taken the position, my SL is going to be low of the hammer. Okay. So depends on my risk appetite. If market keeps going higher levels, one can trail their stop loss and make some good money with it. Alright. So let me summarize this, friends, in simple terms. The hammer formation. The previous trend should be downtrend. Okay. And during downtrend at some price point, if there is any hammer formation, which indicates that there is some buying interest at price point where bulls entered into the market and are trying to take market to the higher levels. Okay. At this price point, action of bulls has a potential to change even the market sentiment. Okay. So one can look definitely for buying opportunities. Alright. Now let us try to understand the hanging man. Okay. So if the paper umbrella appears at the top end of an upward rally, it is called as a hanging man. Okay. Now let us try to understand some of the important points regarding a hanging man. Color really doesn't matter if shadow to real body ratio satisfies. So at least this length of the lower shadow should be twice the length of a real body, friends. Okay. Since it has a small real body, color really doesn't matter. Okay. So here in hanging man, the prior trend should be an uptrend, friends. Okay. So let us try to understand in detail. So here if you see, the previous trend chart should be an uptrend. Okay. So and at some price point there is a hanging man formation where you can see it has a small real body and a long lower shadow. All right. If we analyze this, the previous trend is, since the previous trend is an uptrend where buyers were in absolute control over the market during the last couple of trading sessions, and at some price point, okay, peers entered into the market and they pulled the stock to low levels. Okay, but what actually, friends? And again, buyers entered into the market. They try to take the market to again some higher levels, but finally market has closed lower compared to the previous day's high. Okay, so friends, if we want to say an uptrend, every day the market opens with a new high compared to the previous day's high. Okay, and here also where we see the hanging man formation, so the market expected to form a new high compared to the previous day's high, but what actually happened here, it has closed lower compared to the previous day's high. Okay, so this actually indicates and there is an entry from BS. Okay, and which is expected the market to fall. So obviously, friends, whenever there is a hanging man formation during top end of uptrend, then it definitely suggests a short trade. Okay, depends on my own risk appetite. If I'm looking for a short trade at this price point, okay, so my SL should be a high of the hanging man. So which is very closer though, but yeah, my SL should be the high of the hanging man. So I'm expecting the next trading session should be a downward rally. So if you are a risk averse trader, so you can wait for one more trading session where until you get some confirmation signal in the next trading session. Okay. So to summarize about hammer and hanging man, well, both the hammer and hanging man are valid candlestick patterns. My dependence on hammer is little more as opposed to the hanging man. Okay. So friends, if there were any two trading opportunities in the market, okay, one actually based on a hanging man and another based on a hammer. So I would definitely prefer to place my order on a hammer instead hanging man. Okay. So even there is a hanging man formation where the candle close lower compared to the previous day's high, but still it shows there is a strong presence of buyers, right? That is the reason the market has even moved higher levels and closed very much closer to the open price or high of the candle. So it clearly shows that there is a buyer's interest. But whereas in hammer, it gives a clear signal that after a continuation of downtrend, there is a strong presence of buyers, which actually can break the trend and maybe there is a reversal in the trend. Okay, so I would suggest you even to develop your own opinion based on the observations that you make in the markets. So this will not only helps you to understand the price movement of a stock, that makes you to a trader to pick the right entry and the right exit. Okay, so this is about a hammer and a hanging man. Okay, so I hope you understood. Now let us try to analyze a shooting star. Okay, so friends, if we try to look at the structure of a shooting star, it looks like an inverted paper umbrella, correct? Because it has a real body. A paper umbrella has a real body at the top end of the candle, whereas in shooting star it is at the bottom end of the candle, correct? As the same rule that we had in paper umbrella, it also has the same small real body at the lower end with a long upper shadow. Okay, so when we say a candle has a shooting star, friends, the length of the upper shadow should be at least twice to the length of the real body. Okay, so the color doesn't really matter since it is a small real body, as the same we discussed in paper umbrella. Okay, now friends, as we have discussed with hanging man and hammer, so here also to look for trading opportunities in shooting star, the pre-trend should be the uptrend. Okay, so at the top end of an uptrend rally, if we see a shooting star formation, okay, which actually indicates that there is a strong entry from a bears, and they are attempting the market to break the trend and to take the market to a downward levels. Okay, so now if we try to understand the previous trend says, friends, as it is an uptrend, buyers were in absolute control over the markets, and at some price point, okay, and at this price point, the market expected to form a new higher compared to the previous day's high. And okay, but what actually happened here? Well, instead of forming another bullish candle, so at this price point bears entered with a full force. Okay, which indicates that there is going to be some trend reversal in the market. Okay, so depends upon a risk appetite of a trader. Okay, so if one can look for a short trades at this price point, right? So if I'm taking a short trade at this price point, my SL should be the high of the candle. Okay, so high of the shooting star is going to be your SL, and there is no defined target. If the market keeps falling down, then one can have a trailing stop loss. Okay, so we'll be discussing about what is trailing stop loss, higher highs, higher lows, and lower highs in a separate video. Okay, so as we have discussed, the stop loss is a high of the candle. So this is what, friends, about a shooting star. To summarize, the previous trend too should be an uptrend. Okay, where the bulls were in absolute control, and if there is any shooting star formation at the top end of an upward rally, it indicates that there is a strong entry from bears and there is going to be a trend reversal in the market. Okay, so finally one can look for a short trades when we notice a shooting star candle formation on the chart. Alright, friends, now let us try to analyze a hammer, hanging man, and a shooting star on the chart. Okay, so I have taken here Infosys chart. So let me once show you how to apply. So when you click on here, so you can just select the stock whatever we need. So this is the Infosys. Once we apply, it will be appearing it on the chart. Okay, so friends, now let us try to figure out the hanging man or a hammer or a shooting star candles on the chart. Okay, so here we could see, friends, the previous trend is a downtrend, correct? The previous trend is a downtrend, and at this price point, so there is a candle which is a hammer candle. It has a long length lower shadow and small real body at the top of the candle, right? Now if we analyze this pattern at this price point, so the previous couple of days we seen it is in downtrend, which indicates that bears are in absolute control on Infosys stock, and this price point looks more lucrative. So buyers entered at this price point, and from here what happened, friends? And in the next trading sessions, the stock has moved towards upside, correct? Let's suppose if I'm taking a position at this price point, okay, now my SL should be the low of the candle, correct? Depends on my risk appetite, so I'll just keep the target, and if by any chance the market keeps falling, then I may trial my stop loss. Okay, so that is how we can trade using a hammer, friends. So basically it's a paper umbrella. If we see the paper umbrella candle during bottom end of a downtrend, then it is called a hammer, right? And the same thing, if we see paper umbrella candle during the top end of uptrend, then we say it as a hanging man, right? Okay, so here the previous trend is again a downtrend. Here we see another hammer, which is a red candle though, but ultimately it indicates that there is some buying interest at this price point where buyers came into the market. And what happened in the next couple of trading sessions, friends? The market has shooted up to higher levels. Okay, now if we look at how much the market has gained from here onwards, it is almost like, friends, close to 15%, right? And we can keep a trailing stop loss, and wherever market comes down, then depends on the trailing stop loss, we can exit from the stock. So if by any chance, if I taken my position at this price point, okay, but imagine that market reverts, but what is the maximum loss that I'm going to incur? Since the low of the candle is my stop loss, so I'm just losing only 1% of the capital that I have deployed, correct? But if you look at the target, it is a very attractive, right, which is almost 15%. So it's always good to find these hammer. Okay, now let us try to find hanging man if we could see anywhere. Okay, so let's consider this one, friends. If we look at the previous trend, it is completely an uptrend, right? And here there is a hanging man formation candle, which clearly says that at this price point, instead of forming a new high, but what actually happened? So bears entered into the market and they tried to pull down, but as we have discussed earlier, that though it is a hanging man formation at the top end of an uptrend, but still it has a strong presence of bulls, right? So that is the reason at this price point the market didn't fell to the low levels, but instead it moved to the higher levels, but closed with a red candle, right? So color doesn't matter when we are discussing with a paper umbrella or shooting star. So from here onwards, what happened, friends? If my stop loss is top of the candle, again in the next trading sessions, like the market has fell down towards downside, right? So this is about hanging man. All right. Now here, if we try to analyze, so the previous trend, what is the previous trend, friends? The previous trend is a completely an uptrend, correct? So here at this price point, okay, what actually happened? So the market is expected to form another bullish candle, but instead at this price point there is an entry from bears, correct? There is entry from bears, and you can see here there is a long upper shadow and there is a small real body at the bottom end, correct? And what happened in the next trading sessions, friends? So the market got reversed and fell down to some extent, right? Now, if we look at the target that we have got, let's suppose if I short Infosys at this price point, and the target that I have got is around close to somewhere 4%. But in case if I want to keep my stop loss, okay, and what could be that, friends? Since it's a shooting star, at top of the candle is my stop loss, right? It is around 1.5%. So whenever we see these shooting stars or hammer candle on the chart, so there is a good probability that we can get some good profits with nice risk reward ratio. So here also you could see the previous trend is uptrend, and here there is a formation of hanging man, and from here there is a market fall, right? So that is how we can interpret looking at these candles on the chart, friends. As we have discussed earlier, okay, if there is two trading opportunities, one is based on hammer and another is based on a hanging man, so it is always good to go with a hammer formation since it gives a more reliable information than a hanging man. So at the same time, shooting star as well, right? At the top of an uptrend, when we see a shooting star candle formation, that gives a signal a BS entered into the market and there is going to be a trend reversal towards downside. So both shooting star and hammer gives a more reliable information, and one can take position depends on their risk appetite. All right. So this is how we can interpret hanging man or hammer and shooting star on the chart, friends. Okay. So I hope you understood about all these three candlesticks. We'll be discussing more patterns in the next videos. Thank you.